To get straight to the point, it's because he changed to Predators. That's it.
I guess I always knew I'd be back someday.
Of course, while the new boots and the great form coinciding is a fun coincidence, I'm not sure even the great Adidas Predators are game-improving boots to the degree that they have caused Alexander-Arnold to thrive as he has. If you're a long-time watcher of the channel, then you'll know that I have been a long-time card-carrying member of the Move Trent to Midfield club. In my opinion, and this is basically preaching to the choir now that people have genuine examples of it in practice, but in my opinion, he has all of the assets that you want from a midfielder. It's almost as if he played there in his youth. In fact, he stated quite recently, quote, "You probably get more out of me in the middle where I can show off that skill set as much as possible." But alongside changes to Alexander-Arnold's role, Liverpool are also playing better as a unit. While he may not be the one playing the final ball in, he's still very much involved, and by playing in the position that he yearns to, Liverpool could go from a forgotten or lesser spoken of title challenger compared to City and Arsenal, the teams that have dominated the title challenge talk, to right in the mix to the very end. When Liverpool's midfield was getting scorched time and time again last season, if a midfield revolution wasn't possible, which it turns out it was, I pointed to investing in a right back and shifting Alexander-Arnold to the middle. I saw that as a two birds, one stone kind of situation. Liverpool were leaking goals from the right flank, as I documented in that video, while their midfield also needed someone such as Trent to help make it more assured defensively, something he would need to work on, as well as provide a creative outlet through the middle. And speaking of getting better defensively in the midfield, he has been studying old footage of Sergio Busquets. Not a bad role model. So it seems as if that's the route that Klopp may be heading down. Well, with these performances from Alexander-Arnold in his midfield/hybrid role, he's forcing Klopp's hand a bit. But in moving him out of the back line, it does raise some questions of their defense and security. Hey, I'm Adrian. Welcome to the channel. Subscribe if you're new and you find yourself enjoying this video. But speaking of security, that actually raises a question from me to you. How is your defense? How tight is your online and phone number security when it comes to your privacy? Oh, come on, guys. You gotta hand it to me. That was smooth, right? Well, thanks to the sponsor of today's video, Aura, you can kiss those relentless spam calls from telerobots, as well as any other data breaches, goodbye. You see all of these numbers here? This is a real screen capture from my phone. These are all the numbers I've had to block so that they don't call me 1 million times per day. It's aggravating. And this is a result of data brokers making an absolute fortune by selling your information to robocallers, spammers, and other people who want your info to do some nefarious stuff with it. But that's not the only reason why I have loved using Aura so far. Yes, I am willing to kiss the creator of Aura for making my life better by deleting my info from these data broker lists, but Aura is also an all-inclusive app, as it also has a VPN to protect yourself on the net. If you're a parent, there are easy-to-use parental controls, antivirus password managers to help with data leaks, as well as home title monitoring to protect you at every turn. And you get everything at this incredibly affordable price. I mean, just look at this. You can't beat this. So guys, let Aura do all of the busy work for you. Let Aura be that new signing in your defense that leads to clean sheet after clean sheet data-wise. You can either let people continue to exploit and profit off of your private information, or you can go to aura.com/Rabona TV to start your 2-week free trial now. Thanks, Aura, and let's move back to defense in the football sphere. No doubt if you're a Liverpool or England fan, then you will already have known this, but Trent Alexander-Arnold played as a midfielder throughout most of his time in Liverpool's academy. This position isn't exactly new to him. Pretty much the entirety of his top flight career has been at the right back position, and what makes his success there all the more impressive was how he played there out of necessity, a deliberate ploy or plan to fast track his way into the first team. Speaking in 2020 to the BBC, Alexander-Arnold said, quote, "Who decided the position change? It was me, Neil Critchley, and Alex Inglethorpe. Critch was my under-18 manager and Alex was head of the academy. I wanted to get into the first team as soon as possible, and we decided that was the most straightforward route." Funnily enough, while the going was very, very good for Alexander-Arnold in that position, he spoke disparagingly of his former central midfield position, how the turntables whatever. Quote, I've always enjoyed right back as there is a lot more freedom going forward. It's a lot more chaotic in the middle. I probably get more of the ball now than I did when I was in midfield. It's just about trying to influence the game as much as possible from out there. I was being hyperbolic, of course. He didn't speak disparagingly of it, although he wasn't shy to point out how he found it difficult to defend due to being isolated in one-on-one situations when he was played on the flank. So there was still some learning to do there. That said, he adapted to the position brilliantly.
Champions again, Liverpool.
It's all recent history, so you likely won't need reminding of just how good Alexander-Arnold is as a right back, how influential he was to Liverpool's success. But having Alexander-Arnold on one flank with Robertson on the other was like having two playmakers in the defensive positions. Trent with his whipped crosses and pinpoint accuracy, while Robertson, no slouch with the ball at his feet himself, getting involved with crosses through the box and cutbacks. It was sublime to watch, and perhaps a bit of a stretch to say that they revolutionized the position, but they certainly elevated its importance to a degree that we hadn't seen in some time amongst other sides. With Robertson and Alexander-Arnold, Liverpool first conquered the Champions League, the Club World Cup, then the Premier League, the FA Cup, and the League Cup. All the while, Alexander-Arnold and of course Robertson were setting and then breaking Premier League assist records for defenders, with 12. Trent later got 13 in a single season during the 2019-20 Premier League campaign. That said, when considering all competitions, his best campaign was the 21-22 season, in which Alexander-Arnold notched up 19 assists across all competitions. Around 2021 and 2022, however, the criticisms of his defensive abilities started to get highlighted far more frequently. I was one of those who respected everything he offered and how brilliant he was going forward, but found myself frustrated watching him constantly get beaten at the back post, whether aerially or just not being switched on and aware of the danger creeping in behind him. And it was at this time that his tactical genius of a coach decided to play him in midfield. I'm talking about Gareth Southgate. Gotcha. But in September of 2021, Trent played as a midfielder against Andorra for England. Pretty low stakes, but it didn't go great. It only lasted 45 minutes. It's interesting because Trent suddenly had a reversal of problems when it came to England. While he was in the Liverpool academy, he shifted from midfield to right back to get into the first team faster. Now with England, there was an abundance of talent in the right back position. There still is. Kieran Trippier, Kyle Walker, to name two very good players. Both began wrestling Alexander-Arnold's England minutes away from him. So much so that at the World Cup in Qatar, Alexander-Arnold played just 33 minutes for England, a substitute appearance in their final group stage match against Wales, when England were already 2-0 up. Alexander-Arnold has spoken about how the last year or two has provided some of the most difficult times in his career. And I mean, it makes sense, right? From such a young age, it was just upward trajectory for him. Winning the Champions League at 21, Premier League champion at 22, one of the best right backs in the world all the while, and then 2 difficult seasons brought it all down. More like 1.5, we'll call it. However, in about April of 2023, Pep Lijnders, Klopp's assistant, had an idea.
We know that we have to improve. We know that we have to change things, and we will.
There's been a growing trend in football recently to have these sort of hybrid roles within the 11. Guardiola is probably the guy who most think of when it comes to this, first having João Cancelo operate almost as a midfielder, as he would tuck in the inside channels to get more touches on the ball and spray passes around. Then there was the other hybrid guy, John Stones, who would switch from the midfield to the back line depending on whether City were in possession or out of it. Lijnders will have seen the success that other teams were finding with this, these inverted wingers that would step inside, as it provided a way to get numbers going forward without sacrificing too much going in the opposite direction, namely in transition, as when fullbacks would typically push up the field, the space they vacated on the flank would be the place that the opposition would exploit. Lijnders was so convinced that Alexander-Arnold would be a hit in this position that, according to The Athletic's James Pearce, he even said he'd bet a year of his salary on Trent succeeding in that hybrid role. So back in April 2023, one day before they were to go away to Arsenal, Klopp explained to Trent what he would be doing when Liverpool were in possession. Quote, "Everything was normal defensively, and then with the ball, he wanted me as a second number 6. The idea around it, as it was explained to me, was about improving our inside play, controlling the center, getting an extra player in that area. He trusted me to be able to do what I needed to do to make it work. I was excited. I saw it as an opportunity. It's a position I'd not played before. I just wanted to go out there and prove that I could do it." That change led to Alexander-Arnold finding his form again last April, and Liverpool beginning a run of matches that saw them resemble 2020 or 2022 Liverpool again. Not that terrifying 2021 version of the side that was basically desperately posting center backs wanted pamphlets all over Europe. After a few matches, Alexander-Arnold was taking to his role incredibly well, it's safe to say. And he was saying, quote, "Before taking this on, I was only ever really able to break lines on the right side of the pitch. I was never able to do it on the left. And if I was to play a good pass, it would be a big switch, and they can only be so effective. This position just opens up the whole pitch for me. I'm able to kind of dictate the flow of the game, where we attack, how we attack, and at what pace. That's exciting. I really like being able to do that." And that is exactly what you want from one of your most gifted passers in the squad, if not the most gifted in the moment. You want them on the ball playing those measured passes. And with how Liverpool have evolved in the midfield and their approach this season, he's the perfect candidate to pull the strings. And hey, the proof is in the pudding, man. Since Alexander-Arnold started playing this role, Liverpool have lost just once in 24 matches. And that loss was that match against Tottenham, where Diaz's goal was disallowed for, well, complete incompetence by the VAR team. And so building off of that, with their midfield revolution, a much needed one at that, you'll notice that plenty of Liverpool's goals these days are scored while playing counter-attacking football, scored in transition. Rather than build up their play down the flanks, get it into a wide position and whip it in, Liverpool are countering with great success. They can still use the flanks, of course, but with the control and comfort on the ball that Szoboszlai, McAllister, and Alexander-Arnold provide in the middle, they are far more comfortable progressing through the middle. They cross far less. I mean, Opta pointed out that the peak of their crossing was during the 2019-20 campaign, in which they crossed an average of 17.66 times per match. This season, that's down to 10.71. Alexander-Arnold in particular has gone from an average of 6.74 crosses to 2.34 this season. Why is that? Because while he is tucking in, as he mentioned, he can dictate the play far more. He is still very much involved in Liverpool's attack, just at the opposite end of the spectrum, in some ways. While before he was playing the final ball, whipping it in, now he is playing the ball that starts the attack, or in some cases, like against Fulham recently, the one who actually finishes off the attack from the edge of the box. By playing in a more central position, he can get far more involved, which is exactly what the guy wants. Quote, "What I'm best at is being someone who plays in the middle, someone who controls the game, controls the tempo, creates, breaks line, progresses the ball up the pitch." And he also has a weapon of a right foot to finish off attacks, as mentioned. But what's interesting is that I checked his heat maps, and sure enough, he's not hugging the touchline, or at least his heat map branches into the middle far more. That's obvious, you know. But how does that affect Salah? Salah has always liked to occupy that inside right channel. He isn't exactly a touchline winger once he gets to the final third. He's someone who plays more inside, cutting onto his left to strike at goal or combine with his teammates. Now look at this comparison of Salah's heat maps so far this season. The change isn't drastic, but if you look at when he gets into the final third in the box, that's where we see the difference. In particular, looking at that right edge of the box, less time is spent there, as well as in the central areas around the edge of the 18. He isn't wandering in there as often, as that space is being occupied by one, Szoboszlai, and now Alexander-Arnold. Too early to say how it will affect his goals tally. The man has still scored 10 goals in 14 appearances. He's no slouch. But what we have seen is his expected assists per 90 go up to a career high, while Alexander-Arnold's have dropped to a career low, naturally, as he's no longer the whip it in from the flank man. It'll absolutely be interesting to see how Liverpool grows from here and what direction Klopp chooses to take. In signing his new contract a couple years ago, and with all of the changes in the squad, you can't say that this Liverpool 2.0 is the same as the one that brought success back to the club before. Yes, there are similarities, like Alisson still being a top 2 goalkeeper in the world, Salah scoring, Virgil van Dijk back to something resembling his most dominant form, but the way forward has changed. And if things continue on this trajectory, then Alexander-Arnold will be at the heart of all good things that come to Liverpool. Thanks so much for watching this video, guys. And if you happen to enjoy it, then do leave a like. And hey, if you want more, why not subscribe and become part of our community? Beyond that, I appreciate you and be well. Ciao.